Hi, hello.
Hi, Carly. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. So I just logged in. So I was doing a bit of work and I thought, right, if I have it up and running and then I'll be
I saw the message come through and I thought, oh, eager beaver. Let's
no,
let's get
do you
started
know
if
what? I
you're
just
ready.
got to get it going because you know, like you start doing something and then you get
Yes,
carried away with it, don't you? So I was like, if I have it on in the background, then when you come in, I'll know. So yeah,
absolutely. Are you okay to start now, or do you want?
fine if you're ready.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. So first off, thank you very much for volunteering. Um,
that's right. Yeah, good.
I've had a lovely week of talking to people from all kinds of different backgrounds and I'm sharing their stories. So it's just been really lovely meeting
Oh,
a
great.
lot more new people. So, okay, so let's get this running then. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, so I worked in industry most of my working life. I worked for mainly in the city in London. I worked for stockbrokers. There were stockbrokers fund
Oh,
management
wow.
for 20 years, really. So yeah, long time.
That's really interesting.
Is it? I don't know. Yeah, I suppose it is. It's for a lot of people outside of that, but you kind of, it becomes your norm, doesn't it? Like whatever you're
Yeah,
doing. Like, yeah. So I worked there a long time. I had my son. I was finance manager there. I went back part-time after I had my son about 8 years ago. And then the reason I've now set up on my own, which is something I've always wanted to do,
oh, wow.
was they wanted me to go back full time and do my old job basically, and I just thought I can't, he's too little, I can't do that and put in the hours. I used to work quite long hours
Yeah,
and have a big team and stuff, so yeah, I thought, no, do you know what, now is the time, try it out and see
that's
how it
brilliant.
goes. Yeah, so it's something I always wanted to do. But like most people, you get the comfort of a job, don't you? You're going in, you know the people, you know the work.
And the systems and
Exactly. So, but yeah, so I started out in October last year. Um,
brilliant.
yeah, when all the schools went back after the lockdown, I thought, okay, now I'm not homeschooling, I can start working again. Yeah, and gone from there really. So
That's
that's, yeah.
fantastic. So before that, did you have any experience in, setting up or running your own business?
No.
Just straight in
Yeah.
at the deep end. Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a huge learning curve,
Yeah.
exciting, challenging, all at the same time. Yeah.
So what qualifications did you take then?
So I left school after doing my A-levels long time ago, and I went to work probably for about 6 months a year. I worked in a treasury department first of all of a different bank. It was a Dutch bank actually in the city, and was in the accounts department. And so I thought, right, I want to do a qualification. I haven't gone to university, so I studied my AAT. And I done that 3 years, I think it takes, or it took when I was
Yeah,
doing it.
definitely takes
Um,
three.
yeah, that's it. So I've done that, which actually I really enjoyed because I was going to college every evening, or a couple of times a week. I made some really good friends that I still speak to now.
That's lovely.
Passed that in 2001, I think. Yeah. And then thought, right, okay, what do I do now? And I've always had in my mind, one day I would like to work for myself. So then I started my ACCA, and got a few exemptions, done all that, and qualified at the end of 2005.
Oh,
So yeah,
brilliant.
done my ACCA as well, and then had a break. Work.
I don't blame
Yeah,
you. So
yeah. So
did you put yourself through the AAT and ACCA, or did your employer contribute at all?
yeah, they paid for that for me. I mean, I've always worked, so especially the company I worked for 20 years was quite a smallish company, although they were sort of listed. They were quite a small company. We were quite a small finance team. So yeah, they sort of put me through, but we didn't really get much study leave. So it was hard work, I must admit. It was
Yeah.
weekends up to London every weekend after being there a week as well. Yeah, so it was pretty hard going, but it was worth it in the end. You just focus, don't you? So yeah, they
Yeah,
paid, and yeah, saw me through it.
that's such an achievement.
Yeah, it is actually, when you look back actually at the time, like most people, you're studying, and anyone that's doing any sort of professional qualification, you kind of just do it, don't you, and get
You
on with
do.
it. that, but you look back and you're like, God, no wonder I was tired.
When you think, if you have a busy week at work, and then you think, oh well, at least I've got, a couple of hours in the evening at some point to kind of relax a little bit, you think back to those times. I don't know how I got through it. I did the AAT and ACA, and
That's even, yeah.
I just remember being in my room doing an exam at one point, and my fiance came in, trying to be nice to bring me a cup of tea, but I had all my timers on for doing this exam. I was like, "What do you want?" So I just brought you a cup of tea and was like, "Just leave me be."
Yeah. Yes.
Crazy.
I got through a lot of biscuits and sweets, actually. Keep you going, isn't it? Yeah, they're the qualifications I studied anyway.
So was there a reason that you decided to say the likes of the ACCA over CIMA or ACA or any of the other professional qualifications?
I think I didn't want to do CIMA because I always wanted the option of working in practice or working for myself, and I just felt that I'd learn more and be better qualified if I'd done ACA or ACCA. I think, to be honest, rightly or wrongly, I don't know, because I didn't really even look into it, but ACA, I felt so intimidated. I just thought, oh my goodness, that's just a whole other level. You have to work in practice to do it. I think I looked at all the sort of requirements and knew to get signed off, you had to do certain like audit things and stuff, which I just knew I wouldn't get the experience working where I was doing that. Whereas ACCA, you could be in industry as well and still qualify, and get your PCR or whatever it's called all signed off. So that's why I chose ACCA.
It's interesting. It's funny because a lot of the individuals that I've spoken to who have been doing this 10, 15, 20 years have all said the same thing, that around the time when the exams were chosen, it was a case that there wasn't really a lot of information out there in terms of the research point. And it was only really the people in your firm you could speak to ask, what should I do? And a lot of the time, like I did, you just did what they did, and it wasn't really, you didn't think about the other qualifications so much.
No.
It's interesting.
And I think as well, so as I said, I worked for quite a small company, and I worked with a guy who we were very similar sort of levels, we were coming up together. He actually studied CIMA, but we were the only two people doing at that time. I mean, nowadays, especially in that industry, everyone has to do certain professional qualifications, but at that time, we were the only two people in the company studying a professional qualification. So there was no precedent set at all. We had obviously like our finance director advising us, but he was ACA, he was, but again, had studied 20 odd years before. So there wasn't, it like you say, there wasn't a huge amount of information.
No, I think
kind of left to it, aren't we? So
I think we're very lucky these days that there's the likes of Facebook groups and all the additional online resources that you've got. You've got apps you can go to at any time in the day. You can log on online. Whereas again, I nearly broke my back carrying all of those books to and from college.
Let's be honest, that's the thing, 20 odd years ago, actually, like the thought of sitting on a computer and talking to somebody over a video and having a lesson that way, it just wouldn't even cross your mind. It was you need to go to London and study every weekend, and that's
it. Getting your books out on the train, that sort of thing.
It's all coming back.
Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, then so what did you enjoy about the experience of studying AAT and ACCA?
I think just broadening my knowledge, and especially learning lots, because as I said, I worked in industry and it was quite industry specific. So actually learning all about, say, manufacturing and accounting for stock and things like that, I didn't get exposed to that in work. So that side of it. The personal tax was, this is such an awful, I always say this to people, but I love tax.
Tax.
Oh, I found someone else.
I love tax.
I love tax. I don't know why. I can remember sitting my final. For my finals, I chose advanced tax as one of my options, and I just remember sitting the exam, and I just loved the whole 3 hours and finished. I thought I could do that again. Love it.
Do you think it's because it's so black and white, so that there's there's a bit of ambiguity, but most of the time it's, well, if it's not this, it's this.
Yeah.
And then the more you delve into tax, the more interesting it gets.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's yeah, I do think that was, and it's sort of working out, you got this allowance and then you can do this rate and then you can do that rate. So yeah, I really enjoyed learning, all that side of it, because again, I wasn't exposed to that at work. It was very different. I guess really my work, I probably should have done CMA, because I was doing management accounts, management reporting, budgets. But yeah, I really enjoyed learning all the other stuff, if you like. So yeah, that's what I preferred. And yeah, like I said, especially my AAT, I met some really nice people who, yeah, I'm still in contact with now. So just learning. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so then are there any things that you would have done differently?
In terms of studying, no, I don't think so. I really tried to focus and crack on. I would suggest, I had a goal. I wanted to buy a house, and I knew that I needed a pay rise in order to afford the mortgage, and then to get the pay rise I needed to qualify. So that was my goal. So yeah, I done that. But I think for me, the only thing, and I really wish now I had done, is looked at the practicing certificate for ACCA while I was working full time.
Yeah.
Got that all signed off, see what gaps were missing, so that I could then either go and get a new job or say to my boss at the time, look, hang on, I need to do this. Because going back and doing it retrospectively is so difficult.
Definitely.
So, yeah, that's one thing I wish I'd have, you kind of get all your practical experience record signed off, say, yeah, you can pass, you can become a member, and then you kind of forget about it. But actually, I wish at that point I'd done my practicing certificate as well and got that.
I think it's interesting because there's been a bit of a forum on what ACCA are doing in regards to practice certificates and the work experience that's required, and it's caused a little bit of drama really, because I don't think they've been very clear in the past about what's required and when it's required, sort of thing. So you've got individuals who've qualified as ACCA and then need to do something on top to be able to open up their own practice, and there's things like that. So I think there's definitely room for improvement from the ACCA's point.
Massively. And I ended up getting my practicing license through AAT, even though I qualified with them first. I sat down and I spent so long going through the ACCA certificate, and to be honest, I got about 2/3 of the way through, because I mean it's thousands and thousands of work. You have to write all these statements. I was getting up at 5 o'clock every morning, doing an hour every morning, getting it done.
Oh wow.
Just to try, this last year, so that I was trying to get this certificate. But you kind of get to certain parts and I thought, I just can't think how I can meet this criteria. So I rang AAT and they sent me through their requirements, and actually, you can write a statement. I got it signed off by my old boss to say that yes, I can do all this stuff. And they gave me my practicing license. So it's still wonderful. In the back of my mind, I really want the ACCA one, just because it's like a point to me now. I want to get it.
if you've taken that investment in yourself, and you've got through all the exams, and like you say, they're not easy exams, they really test your knowledge, and to do all of that, get to the end of it, then of course you want that, because you just think, I've just invested so much in myself and this qualification. So certainly. Okay, so then I've got 2 questions here, so you can answer one of them or you can answer both, completely up to you. But the first one is, then what would you tell yourself if you could go back 5 years? And the other one is, what would you tell to somebody who's looking to study either AAT, ACCA, or both?
I think if I went back 5 years, that's not that long for me, and I was only working part-time at that point. I think I would have said to myself, start up now, and do it really slowly, because the massive thing I've learned is I started out and I kind of advertised, and it's great, I've got quite a few clients, but running a business is like another job in itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so you're doing all your clients' work, but actually you need to spend a day at least, or 2 days, on your own business. So actually, I think I'd say kind of start slowly now, start setting it up, get all ready, look into the software that you'll need, because all of that, all the trials and things, they all take so much time, don't they?
Yeah,
When you
they do,
first,
definitely.
and trying to juggle that with doing client work as well. So I think whilst I was still in part-time employment, if I'd have set up or even researched it and got to a point where I could then take on clients 6 months later, then I would probably do that, I think. Yeah.
And do you think, like say that, if you'd have known, how do I word this? So I spoke to a lady the other day, and she said in her practice, she only offers, the likes of Xero. She doesn't do any books for QuickBooks, and if somebody just comes to her and ask, do you provide this service? She will say no, and then relate them to, somebody who does do that.
Yeah.
And it's that, when you're looking at a business and doing bookkeeping, what is it? What services do you want to offer? What package are you going to use?
Yeah.
All of that comes into mind, and sometimes you don't really know which step to take until you've done it and got that little bit of experience with whatever software it is, and the clients that you want to take on as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's it. I think that's, it's right, really. You don't know, you just think yes.
Yeah, because you're trying to build something.
I'll do that, I'll do this. But yeah, you kind of get to know the things that you like and the way that you like working. Yeah, definitely. And having the confidence I've turned away a few clients that have come to me recently just because I've reached a level now where I don't want, I could take them on, but actually then my level of service would drop. I wouldn't be able to give the clients that I've got the time, and I really don't want that. I want to be able to help people, because that's something I've found working for myself is really great, is you get people come to you and they just panic because they don't know what they're doing, and you just don't panic, it's fine.
It's just a minefield though for those out of finance. I think sometimes because we've been doing it so long, we take some of the information and knowledge we have for granted, but when really there are so many small businesses out there that really need bookkeepers and need accountants because they don't know which way to turn, which is understandable, really. But that's fantastic. So then what tips would you give to somebody who's looking to study the AAT or ACCA?
I think, to be honest, I would say, especially if you're going to do ACCA or AAT and you want to work for yourself eventually or get some practice experience, that's, I think, probably the biggest thing for me. Coming from industry to working for myself has been a huge leap, which I did know it will be, and a lot of people said that. But I think if I'd have worked in a practice even for a year or two, just to kind of get to know systems, like you say, all the different Xero, QuickBooks, Free Agent, all these different ones, which actually are fine to use, and they're, you get to, know them and you get to use them. But if you've never seen them before, that was a huge hurdle for me, having worked in industry, and we used industry specific software that we had to manipulate the output.
That's it, very bespoke software.
Exactly. So, we did a little bit on Sage, but this was desktops. I mean, this was before the cloud was even thought of, like desktop Sage. But most of our management accounts, and it was all produced on Excel and things. So when I came on to, I was like, wow, this software does all this stuff for you. So I would say, go into practice, get a little bit of experience, how to manage clients, using practice management software, setting up workflows for yourself, things like that. And I do think if you're going to study ACCA, then you're probably going to go down the practice route or work for yourself route anyway. So if that's something you want long term, definitely try and get that sort of experience. And as I said, do the certificate straight away. It's all in your mind.
So that's all those questions answered. So thank you very much for that. But do you want to talk a little bit about your practice and what clients you have and what services you offer?
Yeah, so I kind of try and do, as you say at the beginning, you're like, I do everything.
Yeah.
But I've kind of fallen in this way, and that I'm doing more accountancy than I am doing bookkeeping. I was open to both in the beginning, but yeah, it's just so happened that a lot of people have come to me and just want to do either their self-assessment returns, which actually I don't mind doing at all, because they don't take that long unless they're quite complex.
Yeah.
You know, and you can get all the information from people and feel comfortable doing that. And then I have limited companies that I do, yeah, all their accounts and returns for. But what I'm really trying to do for my clients now is work like a management report for them, you know, even if it's every quarter, because I just find, you know, all these companies are doing year-end accounts, and it might be by the time they get all the stuff to you and all the rest of it, it's like 4, 5, 6 months down the line.
Yes.
You know what, it doesn't mean anything to them, these year-end figures, because their business has moved on 6 months.
That's it. It's historic data by that point. And
That's it.
Not
you
a
know,
great deal you can do.
No, you know, and especially last year, you know, a lot of it was meaningless because a lot of businesses were closed. So it's so yeah, I've really tried. So I've got limited companies, but I'm really trying to keep in touch with them every month or every couple of months and just say, look, you know, let's have a quick look at your figures, just draw up some really draft accounts just so you can see what, you know, you're like. I use some software for like cash flow forecasting for a couple of my clients, just so that they can log into as well, so they can see what bills are coming up, you know, and yeah, what money they've got coming in. So that's what, yeah, I try and focus on really.
It sounds very exciting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Good to help people, really, isn't it? You know, and get people understanding.
That's one of the reasons why I'm sort of doing what I'm doing now, and that I used to do a lot of the financial reporting side of things. So it was year-end stats, it was preparation, tax comps. But I like to be in the numbers and making changes. So if there's anything, you know, that can be any time and cost savings made, things like that, then I really enjoy sort of that aspect of it. So if you're able to provide those reports for clients, then like say they can make changes before the year end and make sure, you know, that they're up to date with everything.
Exactly, that's it, you know. And as you get, it's not, you know, I don't sort of tell them what to do, but you know, I am like mindful, you know, I'm like, look, you know, in April you're going to get higher NI bills, you're going to get higher dividend tax, you know, let's look at your figures now to make sure that, you know, you're planning ahead and yeah, not going to fall foul sort of thing, you know. If you've got any money to take it now, you know. It's so yeah, it's doing it, helping them really, you know.
And what's the name of your business?
It's called Conquer Accountancy.
Conquer Accountancy. And are you based in the northwest, in the south?
Southeast. I'm in Essex.
Southeast.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. And
oh no, thank you. It's nice.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough.
Anyway, yeah, no, hopefully it helps. Anyway, it's really good. It's like you say, it's interesting, isn't it, to hear everybody's different backgrounds. I belong to a couple of Facebook groups, and actually speaking to people, and you know, like hearing what everybody's done in the past. You're like, oh wow, I'd never.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, really interesting. So yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I won't take any more of your time up.
Right.
Thank you for talking to me.
Thanks. That's all right.
Take care. Bye.